Let's do a breathing together exercise. It would be helpful for your partner to have had a little bit of exposure to meditation, perhaps having tried the breath awareness practice. Now, if you have a friend or a partner who you can do this with, who has some meditation experience his or herself, that works very well. And you can invite your friend or partner to join you in this. If you don't have somebody you can do it with, then you can either conjure a mental image of another person, or even perhaps use a visual image, a photograph, or some other object that reminds you of the other person. And you might even do this with a pet, perhaps, if the pet's likely to be able to sit still with you for a while. And I'd like you to begin by facing your chair toward the image, or if you're doing it with another person, toward both of you facing your chairs toward one another. And find chairs in which you can sit in an alert and dignified posture, because we're going to begin by doing some breath practice together. And we'll do this initially with the eyes closed. So find a comfortable posture in which you're able to sit in an alert and dignified way. And notice that you're both already breathing. And allow yourself to follow the cycles of the breath from the beginning of an inhalation through to the end of an exhalation, and back on to the next in-breath. And notice what it's like to be with your own breath, knowing that your partner, either present or as an image, is also there across from you, breathing or being there as well. To find an alert and dignified posture, you might imagine a string tied to the top of the head, gently elongating the spine. We're just sitting and breathing together. Thoughts may enter the mind, that's fine. Allow them to come and go, including any thoughts of self-consciousness or awkwardness that may come up because you're doing this with another person or being. Just allow them to freely enter and leave the mind as you return your attention again and again to the sensations of breathing. We're just developing a little bit of concentration before moving on to other aspects of the practice. Should judgments enter the mind? I like this, I don't like this. This is weird, this is good. Just notice that all judgments are simply thoughts arising and passing like any other thought. And bring your attention back to the moment-to-moment sensations of sitting here together. And now I invite you, if you're sitting with a live other person, to both open your eyes a little bit and allow your gaze to cast downward in such a way that you can see your partner's breathing. If you're just being with an image of your partner, you can leave the eyes closed with the image, or if you have a photo or something like that, you can open them, or if you're with a pet or another being, you can open the eyes a bit. You want to simply observe the presence and observe the breathing of the other. So we're being aware of our own breath at the same time as being aware of the presence of the other and perhaps his or her breath. If you're doing this with a partner, it doesn't matter whether your breath synchronizes or doesn't. Either way is fine. We're just breathing together. We're practicing awareness of present experience with acceptance, including the awareness of being with another, and accepting the experience of being with the other. And the next phase of this practice can be a little intense at first, especially if you're doing it with a live partner. Because in a moment, I'm going to invite you to lift your gaze and look into your partner's eyes. Now that can feel a little bit awkward or off-putting at first. And if it's too intense, feel free to come back down and just watch your partner's breathing, or even to close your eyes entirely. But first, just try the experiment. Allow your eyes to open and gaze into your partner's eyes. And notice the sensations of breathing as you do this, together. In some cultures, we only make eye contact when we're going to either fight or mate, and that's not what we're doing here. Neither of those is. So it can feel a little awkward, but you may also find that you get used to it after a few moments. So whether you're looking at your partner or you've dropped your gaze a bit, I want you to consider that your partner, like you, was once a baby. And that your partner, like you, was once wholly dependent on caregivers for his or her well-being. And as a result, your partner, like you, probably had good days as a baby, days in which needs were cared for, days in which caregivers were responsive and present, and also some bad days, days perhaps where the caregivers weren't so attentive, or perhaps where you were sick or injured. And you, like your partner, went through infancy, alternating between states of pleasure and states of well-being, and states of discomfort or distress. And like you, your partner then grew older and eventually became a toddler and started venturing out on his or her own, as you did. And here, too, there were probably moments of joy, moments of excitement, moments of curiosity, moments of learning, as well as moments of frustration, moments of fear, moments of pain. And as a toddler, you and your partner both were very dependent on caregivers still. And there were probably times when they were responsive and other times when they were not so responsive. And then you, like your partner, grew older still, and perhaps reached an age of going off to school, with all that's entailed with that, the strangeness of other kids being around who you don't know, being away from mom or some other primary caregiver, having to deal with new grown-ups, having to deal with the challenges of learning things, and having some expectations about learning things. And you, like your partner, probably had moments of joy, moments of engagement, moments where this felt pretty good, and other moments where it was rough. Feelings of loneliness, perhaps, or fear, or maybe anger if other children treated you poorly. And perhaps your caregivers were able to provide comfort and nurturing, or perhaps not, or perhaps some days yes and some days no. And you, like your partner, grew older still and became, say, a later elementary school student, where suddenly there were all sorts of expectations. Competition in the schoolyard, playing sports maybe, where it was clear that some kids were faster learners than others, and where it was clear that some kids were more popular than others. And experiencing all the joys and sorrows that go with that. The moments of feeling good, of feeling capable, of feeling loved. And the moments of feeling alone, not so capable, not so loved. And depending, maybe you or your partner had caregivers who were attentive and responsive, or maybe they weren't so much. Or maybe they were on some days and not on others. And then you and your partner grew older still and entered puberty, and the wild ride that always is. The body changing, sprouting new parts, trying to figure out what my new identity is going to be. Usually peers taking on more importance, sometimes pulling away from parents or other caregivers. Sometimes feeling a lot of excitement, sometimes a lot of fear. All different feelings happening with the radical changes that happen as the body matures. And probably moments of joy and moments of distress associated with that. And then you, like your partner, grew older still and became an older adolescent, where issues of boyfriends and girlfriends and independence and what one's going to do with one's life often enter into the picture. And here, too, there are so many opportunities for joy and excitement, and so many opportunities for sorrow, frustration, anger, and fear. It's a rough ride being a teenager. And then at some point, both you and your partner probably began the process of leaving home. Maybe going off to college, or maybe going into the military, or going off to a job. Or maybe living at home while making some of those transitions, but still being more independent in the world. With all of the joys and sorrows that go with that, it's so great to be able to perhaps drive a car or go places independently. Perhaps form new and exciting relationships. But then all of the worries and the concerns about how's this going to be? Am I going to make it well on my own? Do I have what it takes? And then you and your partner likely went through other developmental stages too. Perhaps starting a family of your own, and all that's entailed with that. Now not only having to worry about your own well-being, but worrying about the well-beings of your partner and your children if you've had children. Perhaps you and your partner both went off to develop professions, careers, going to college, to graduate school even. Maybe becoming licensed as something or another. With all of the joys and sorrows attendant on that. The good feeling about achievement. The bad feeling about making comparisons with others and not always coming out on top. Concerns for how this is going to work out and will I enjoy it or not. Maybe even greater concerns of will I be able to survive? Can I make enough money? And somehow, through these stages, you and your partner came to this moment in time. To this particular moment of crossing paths in the life cycle. And if your eyes are open, take in what your partner looks like right now, at this moment, where you happen to be here together. And if you're working with a partner in your mind's eye, or a picture, or some other form, just take him or her in as he or she is now. And of course, we have no idea what the future is going to bring, but it's possible that you and your partner will grow older still. And will go through other developmental stages. And at some point, both you and your partner will reach the end of this life cycle. You may know it. You may know that the end is near because you have a terminal illness or just because you're very old. Or maybe it'll come suddenly without any preparation. But we can be certain that both we and our partner will reach the end of this life. And will have gone through this entire journey, the 10,000 joys and 10,000 sorrows, beginning as an infant, going through all the different stages, and then reaching an end. So with awareness of being on this journey together, take one last look at your partner, if your eyes are raised, and then allow your gaze to come down again. If you're with an image of the partner, you can allow your eyes to close. If you're with a live partner, come back to experiencing your breath and your partner's breath. And notice what it's like to breathe together, having gone on this little journey together, and being on this life course together. And allow yourself to feel the breath again from the beginning of an inhalation to the end of an exhalation. Breathing together. And then allow your eyes to close completely. And come back into the sensations in what you call your body. And see if you can follow the breath through some full cycles, knowing that your partner is there, also going through the life cycle, following his or her breath. And allow yourself to feel some appreciation for the opportunity to be on this life cycle and to have others on the life cycle with us as well. And to bring this practice to a close, I'm going to ring a bell, and I invite you to listen to the sound of the bell from the beginning of the ring until it trails off into space and you can no longer hear it.